knowing your family history. You know how many people don't know what their mom or dad have? And these aren't people whose moms or dads were 100 and something years old that died 50, 60 years ago. This is present day. And their parents might still be alive, but they don't know because nobody wants to share. So again, the shame. Why are you ashamed to have high blood pressure or ashamed to be diabetic? You didn't cause it.
Welcome to Just a Conversation, the podcast where we discuss the topics that matter to you. I'm Michael Alcock here with
Aisha Reed.
And today we're talking about how our bodies speak to us. Those whispers of fatigue, tightness, or low mood. If we ignore them, they turn into alarms. We're joined by three incredible guests, Jurad Mason, Dr. Lana Husbands, and Roderick Lashley, each with their own insight into how to tune into the body's signals before it's too late. Welcome, everybody. Today's topic is one that is of particular interest to myself,
and for me for sure
as well. We work in jobs that have a high threshold for stress, and sometimes
fast.
It's fast paced. So sometimes you don't even know what's happening with yourself.
Or we ignore too.
Yeah. You feel it, but you tell yourself, it's all right. I can get through it. I can get through it today.
I can sleep next week.
We've brought a lot of people, we think, around this table who are attuned to, their bodies and their health. And that's what we want to talk to you guys about today. So let's start with Jurad. You could just give us a little bit about yourself, about your background.
Brief background. My name is Jurad Mason. I have been competing in bodybuilding since 2022. But before that, I have been the average skateboarder, basketballer, cricketer, footballer. I've been in sports from the time I was about 4 or 5.
Right.
From playing from cricket for St. Catherine's as well as Dyton Griffith, even going to play cricket for, basketball for Clapham Bulls, as well as skateboarding for a team like True Love, taking it to a regional competition, as well as then representing Barbados for the past 2 years in Aruba and Guyana at CAC, placing second in my category, classic physique.
So being a sportsman, it sounds like there's something you need to be in tune with what your body is doing and saying to you.
And not only that, from skating to no bodybuilding, so that's a total difference. Yeah,
it's a drastic change. It's a lot more stress on the body and paying attention to it.
Bodybuilding is a lot more stress on the body than skateboarding.
Yes.
Okay. Right.
Because you're moving heavier weights directly, and it's going to be impacting your joints.
Okay.
And it is, and particularly, it's best that you pay attention to your body at that point in time, because you can be telling whether you can hurt yourself, like your elbows, your knees, which are key factors, as well as your shoulder is about hurt, and you don't want an injury.
Okay. Okay. All right. So next, then we go with Lana, Dr. Husbands. Yes, please. You can tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay, so Dr. Lana Husbands, medical doctor. I specialize recently in gerontology, which is the study of all things aging and how it can assist older persons in aging healthily, as opposed to just thinking of aging as a disease that we can't avoid.
Right.
So I would have also worked in the emergency department, where that stress level is, one would think it is a high stress, I suppose it is, but you get used to it, or we feed off of it.
Right.
So, but it can then lead to us ignoring ourselves as physicians, and then recognizing it much more quickly in other people than we do in ourselves. So the warnings are on both sides. So that's my major background, but I also like to diversify, and my diversification, my main two diversifications are water sports. So I love to swim and water ski, and anything creative. So I interior design, That's me. So to make transformation of any kind, I suppose, they're all the same thing. So yeah, listen to my body.
Have you ever surfed?
Once.
Okay.
But here's the story. I took a surfboard from a friend, and my dad, who taught us all to water ski, said, just go ahead, because he's like, do whatever. Whereas my mom's side is like, no, just stop, don't do anything. So but I'm always torn between that. So one day I just said, okay, I'll take somebody's surfboard. And then I thought, what am I doing in the middle of, like, this board is gonna hit me on my head. I'm gonna get knocked till I'm gonna end up in St. Vincent and be eaten by sharks. And like that thought, I stopped immediately and just swam in. I never did it again. But recently, I have been in contact with a surfer who came in for Soup Bowl. Yeah. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should just try this again. That many sharks in the ocean.
You should. I wish I could surf. I can skate, but I can't surf to save my life. I tried so much times, and I'm not going to stop, so you shouldn't quit either.
No, right. I agree.
Roderick, coming over to you. I see here in my notes it said that you went from obese to
that's right.
Bodybuilder. I've never known you as obese in all the years I've seen you around, so I'm interested. Tell me a bit about your
what's
your
interesting
story.
about that is that happened when I was working that 9 to 5 under stress, just meeting demands of the business and not listening to my body, doing everything that's necessary to push, get results in terms of business and corporate. And what ended up happening is I just gained weight, got out of hand, things got really out of hand, and I ended up obese. And what ended up happening now is I made a difference. I had to make a change. I had to go in a completely different direction, and got to the place where I'm now coaching people who would have experienced or gone through the same thing that I went through. So my ideal client ends up being a person who is in corporate, inundated with deadlines, demands, not taking care of their body, and trying to make a change in the midst of that. And so that led me to go and get certified in nutrition, and ended up being a personal trainer certification. Then I ended up even getting more certifications in like body transformation, because that's what I ended up doing. My transformation was pretty stark, to the point where people were just like, what did you do? How did you do it? Right? And so that flowed naturally into then being able to talk to people. I got certified and then went full-fledged into it. That's how that materialized.
So Dr. Lana, how important is it for us to just listen to our bodies, to relax and say, hey, slow down, take some time for yourself? Why is it important?
Okay, how long we got?
Because you said earlier that you were not listening to your own body, but you telling people to listen to theirs.
Yeah. So why is it important? Because as my colleague, we were all talking in the meeting before we came in here, and there's this wonderful book, if I may call the book, The Body Keeps the Score. Can't remember who wrote it, but they were analyzing the difference to see if there was a difference in the brain, or to analyze the brain of those who were abused or who watched abuse, or who this is children, or those with learning disabilities, and simultaneously, or he got that from learning and looking at the effects of those who came back from Vietnam. You can imagine, would that be the same thing? Somebody who just saw abuse or was abused as a child or an adult, how could that compare with war, an awful war? But when they did the scans of their brain, they were the same. And these people had hypertension, they would have had strokes at an early age, heart attacks, you name it. Some would have had like a pseudo paralysis, so they couldn't move one part of their body. And some got better, but many would have then gone into destructive behaviors, so self-harm, smoking, drugs, early deaths, that sort of thing. And one wonders, where was the initial sign? Like, what? How could this have been stopped? How could I? And that's extreme. But in our lifetime, in our lives, daily lives, we get the same signals. We get a little warning here. We may think, oh, as you said earlier, sleep next week. So you're tired, but this is more important. I have to do this. I can always put this back. I can put it back by another hour. And body is thinking, no, you need the 8 hours. No, I could do it too. And then we're almost forced to do that because the job demands it. But then what happens? Then you yourself start to get neck pain. That's because I slept badly. Or you start to feel a slight headache. Oh, I need to drink more water. And then it goes on and on and on until then maybe you feel a little short of breath. Nothing really specific. A tingle in a finger here, tingle in a toe, a nudge in the back, a little cramp in the stomach is gas. Anything, and then what happens is you wake up in the hospital because you collapsed at work. Because your blood pressure went sky high, you had a stroke. And everyone's like, so do you smoke? Do you drink? No. You take good care of your health, may not be obese. But the signs were there. The body was keeping the score. The body was trying to tell you. But as you said, the slow down, relax. No. Jurad and I were talking earlier. The minute you see somebody relax, what are you doing? Relax. I'm just relaxing. Watching TV. White.
Yeah.
You know what
to do? Great.
Exactly. Roderick, you would have had a work life which the pace was, I stop when everything is finished, I suppose. As opposed to when your body was ready to finish.
Yep.
And that your body says, but how much can we go let a computer go without plugging it and recharging? No. The machine itself is going to say it's not going to give us a choice.
Correct.
It's going to give us a warning. 15%. You got 10%. You got 5%. You got 2%. But in your mind, I have to charge it, and you have to wait till it's charged. So how is that for a machine that you can buy another one, as opposed to our bodies which are irreplaceable, or organs which are irreplaceable? We end up in failures of all sorts of things and then relationships and all. It goes into every aspect of our lives, emotionally, physically, everything.
We feel that we're invincible and we could do everything and we could just keep doing it and doing it.
Right.
That's what we feel.
That's what I got a question for the two muscle mains. In terms of y'all's training experiences, anybody could go first. Is there a moment where you've ever overexerted yourself to the point of injury, and was it something that is in hindsight oh shoot, I probably shouldn't have lifted that extra amount of pounds or that extra amount of reps or whatever it is? How does that play out?
It was a case where I just came from deadlifting. Everybody knows deadlifting is very back intensive. It's a lot of stress on your lower back. And a person that I was training at the time needed a spot, and they were doing bench press. I immediately went over from deadlifting a very heavy weight and then went over to spot them. In doing so, I shifted my weight from being level to leaning on one side, and that caused me to strain my hamstring and my lower back.
Okay. And then you no.
And then I was out. And luckily this happened while I was in the off season. But from the time I went to shift my weight from my right hip to my left hip, I felt like I shouldn't do this.
Right, but you didn't stop.
I didn't stop. Because now this person also, in my head, this person also has a very heavy weight above their head. They had 90 pounds in each hand, and with the dumbbells. And it was either I take a little bit of pain, or this person potentially dropped this weight, because it was the first time they were doing this. I know I needed more rest, but I didn't listen to my body in terms of taking more rest before going to spot the person. And I always look back at that day like I should have listened to my body.
That's three parallels, I guess. So what actual people on a day-to-day basis are going through, and they feel that little tightness in the chest or whatever. But
and they keep going.
You know what I'm saying? I need to keep pushing through. What about you, Roger?
Yeah, you're right. It parallels but it is an acute situation at that point in time where you can make a difference and change and say, well, because it's exasperated at that point, you're feeling the pain,
right?
Whereas that person is just going and they're ignoring the signs and they keeping on going, which exasperates the issue. Because had he continued to go even with the pain, then that would have been a catastrophe.
Right.
Unfortunately, that's what people are doing
Right.
on a daily basis.
Right.
In my situation, yes, similar to Jurad, I've had my stint in bodybuilding as well, which is it can be quite extreme when it comes to dieting. When it comes to, so if you think about bodybuilding and normal life, bodybuilding is like Formula One,
Right.
where you are fine tuning, your everything is dialed in and detailed, and what happens at points in time is that you may have a perspective that you can do something and it may not be the right timing for you to do it, and you end up injuring yourself, and especially when you're dieting and preparing for a show. And so yes, stuff like that has happened to me. I've pulled my hamstring before, similar to him. I've hurt my back deadlifting, and so you definitely have to listen to your body at that point in time, because you don't have any choice really, right?
Right. But for you though, when you changed gears totally, before you went into this area, and when you were in corporate and stuff like that, what made you say, you know what, I had enough? It's me to make a change for myself.
I knew it wasn't sustainable, the pace that I was going at, and what ended up, when I talk about the pace, I'm talking about long hours in the office, really just being results oriented, driving hard to meet targets, those types of things. It even got so bad I remember dropping to sleep in the office and waking up early in the morning one time, and there came a point where I was saying yes, it's not sustainable, but then there comes a point in time where it's like, no, I can't do this anymore. I cannot see myself doing it anymore. The truth is, that is actually a better situation than people who are going through it and getting a little bit more reprieve, because it's almost as though it is a silent, or it's a clandestine type thing that's happening, because you're getting a little reprieve. It's not as extreme, so you are going along with it, but
So
it is continuing over time and building up. And unfortunately, there are a lot of silent killers out there that hide in that type of situation that catch up to you. In my situation, it was kind of extreme, and I was like, no, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
And so in that situation, I ended up saying to myself, I have to make a change, literally change jobs. That's what ended up happening.
Okay,
I had to change that and change my lifestyle in the midst of that as well.
Right. So that leads me to my next thought process, which is why do we ignore, or what causes people to ignore these signs? And does, let's say, getting yourself in shape or having a fitness routine make it easier? They say my muscle connection. Does that transfer into everyday for the average person who might be having issues?
Why do we continue to do the things that we do? I think it's ideological issue at the base of it. If you think of it as a pyramid, there's certain things that fundamentally you have to fix, and we live in a capitalist society. It is results oriented. We have to make money to pay bills, those types of things. But you always hear people say health is wealth, and you hear people say that your health is more important than. But if you watch their actions, ideologically, they're actually sacrificing their health at the altar of capital. That's what's actually happening. And so we have to be real with ourselves, and not just real, but very intentional when it comes to actually getting the hierarchy of our priorities in the right place. Because we can say a lot of things, but your actions speak louder than your words. And that takes some real introspection, some real intention, and you have to be really true to yourself and start to really put health up. Because if you think about it, if your health goes down, everything else goes down. Everything else goes down. But we always think we can live in the gray area, right, where we let's just get past this,
yes,
and we will, and so that starts to trick us, and then we look back and realize I've lived my life in that gray area. That's why 80% of people in Barbados die from non-communicable diseases.
Correct.
Because they all believe that they can get out of that gray area at some point in time.
Right.
So it's just like, for instance, pepper sauce is burn you, and you can eat that pepper sauce and so I can deal with that pain later. And you just ignoring it, and you're doing it over and over and over again. Like, people just ignore things all the time. Ignore the bodies, ignore the time. For me, I can share my personal experience. I was ignoring a pain in my stomach until I did laying on the floor, on the carpet at work. and I could not move. And I was like, how it take you so long to go to the doctor? I was forced to go to the doctor. And you think I will learn? I do the same thing up to now. 46 years later, the same thing I do over and over again. Why? Why do I do it? I don't know. But that's what's happened every day with people. Why do we do that?
The thing is, like I said, I guess might be in our line of work too. I guess I had a similar experience in terms of getting diagnosed with acid reflux for so long. I was telling myself, nah, it's just a little burning, little gas, whatever. You know what I mean? I just took 2 antacids until I wake up feeling like I can't breathe. What was this? Something wrong with me. I go and I get diagnosed. I would say that at that point in time, I just like Jurad, I was a skater as well. I know Jurad from skating, so I was viewing skating as my exercise, but I wouldn't say that I was really paying attention to my fitness, my wellness and such. Which is why I was asking earlier, and I still kind of want you guys to touch on that, the connection between actually having a routine, and if that can mitigate or at least allow people to be more in tune to notice when it's time to get help.
Dr. Lana?
Right. Wow. So following on from what Roderick has said, there's so many pearls in there because, as you said, people go along living in the gray area. The body's adding up all that, all those nights that you didn't sleep, the bad diet, the too much sugar, the too much salt, the stress, the relationship, the conflict issues that we didn't resolve, the childhood issues that we never resolved. All those things, body has been adding up and keeping the score and letting us know through the little niggles, little pain here, little gas here, little something. But we push it aside. So there's 2 things that we mainly do. Push things away because I'll face it when I get time, which never happens because we don't either want to, or it's too painful to do it, or it's going to take too long, and it's going to involve other people, and that's going to create a whole catastrophe, and nobody wants to get into any noise that might last forever. And the second thing we do is, well, maybe time will just fix this. I just hope it was long enough, and it's gonna pass like gas. It's gonna pass. So those are the 2 things we do, but those are all fear-based things. Everything is based on fear. So we operate from fear. We're not operating from intention, as Roger has said earlier. Why not? Because the whispers, as this title which drew me so much, we're not listening to those. And it's so ironic that my grandmother would tell me about this. Your voice, you're gonna hear a voice. It's gonna sound so soft. You can barely tell what's happening. But that's the key. We have to pause. So I remember earlier before we started, you saw Mr. Alcott. You saw me doing this box drawing. Yes. And it's actually box breathing.
I know it.
Oh, wow. Okay, awesome.
I know. Tell me what it is.
So this wonderful technique from one of my international colleagues. She had read this, I don't know where, but it's the concept of just taking the time, and it's not very long. So imagine a box, just a square. And at each corner of that square is where your stop comes. So if we can all close our eyes or in our heads, the audience can just close their eyes and imagine the first dot on the left side. And that's where you inhale. And then you pause so that you draw a line from that dot, draw a line to another dot. And that's where you exhale. And then you pause, draw a line down to another dot where you inhale again. And then you draw to the left to another dot where you exhale. And then you complete that square up to the first one where you inhale again.
Yep.
So if you just do that, that takes about 5 seconds, 6 seconds. How much is 6 seconds of your life?
And it helps you to calm down and relax. Right?
It calms you down. It actually reduces your blood pressure. It helps your brain to the fog or the whatever action you were going to take on impulse. It actually stops you from acting on impulse and slows you down so that you can listen and figure and hear what your body is trying to tell you. But that comes not just from today or from tomorrow.
Correct.
That comes from routine. That comes from habit. So Roger didn't lose weight And I was also overweight too for a lot of my life. But I made the decision to then take the step to go against all the grain and make the decision to do it day by day. So it's the habits we have daily. And even 6 minutes in the morning, you can do your breathing, you can do your prayer or meditation, whatever you do. Then you could do a stretch. There's so many YouTube things, 2 minutes, 5 minutes stretch. And then you plan your day or plan one intention you want to accomplish that day. And then you do it the next day. Now that sounds small. Say, what did I achieve? But after the end of the week, you've achieved a whole lot. So you add something a little less because you're intentional about it.
Right.
You're more relaxed. You get along better. The relationships are better. You have your boundaries. And overall, with time, after a week goes into a month. And then after 4 months, somebody sees you like, what did you do? And you might not even be aware of what you actually did. But you're like, oh, you know what? I did this today, Monday, Tuesday. So we slow down, take the time out for ourselves, and that's not selfish because we have to give from our cup. If our cups have nothing in it, we can't give to anybody.
Right.
And all we're going to end up being is feeling guilty, feeling resentful, and just don't want anybody around us after a while. And then you hear we're miserable, especially women. So, you know. The little whispers make a difference, but the habits we develop in order to quiet our minds, to be the human beings that we are, as one of my aunties says, and not just a human doing, then we become better at becoming the highest expression of ourselves that we can be, what we were really meant to be doing, to be helping, to be serving, to be in ourselves. And then you feel satisfied when you go to sleep at night. It's a soft pillow as opposed to a pillow of worry or pillow of pain.
With big rocks in it. Jurad, what was your turning point? Because I've heard the others say that there might have been on the plus beside, but before you started your routine, I would think people might have considered you my little brother. Now they would think you was my big uncle. So what was the whisper in your head that shifted your outlook?
So it was a change back in 2019. I was still skating and as well as doing gym. This is when I had just started personal training. And it was a case where I had just was told that I had stomach ulcers. I was just waking up and my nose would just start to bleed. I thought at that time that my nutrition was enough. I was eating enough. And I was playing basketball for UE. I was skateboarding on a weekend. And I was in the gym 5 days, as well as personal training 5 days, as well as actual going to classes 5 days a week. And in learning that I had stomach ulcers, I had to go back to what was causing it. And I didn't realize that I wasn't eating enough. I started to increase my nutrition at that point in time. And it led to that year being a very successful year. Basketball was great. I continued to win the one movement competition for skateboarding. And then I was able to help people in a different retrospect that I didn't expect to until 2019. Just even talking about them, talking to them on a day-to-day and helping them relieve stress in terms of because school was stressful for all of us at UE. And to be able to relieve that stress, like to go into the gym, move some weight, maybe do some cardio, was one of the ways to outlook and to de-stress, so that when you go into class, you're going into class with a fresh brain, ready to pay attention in class, ready to get the work done. And that changed in 2019, and being able to help people then continue to know, even in the corporate life. I speak to many people on a daily basis where they were just like, oh yeah, I used to go to the gym back in the day, and I'm just like, oh, I'm so bound down with work. I'm just like, what's stopping you now? You have the 30 minutes before you have to pick up the kids. That 20 minutes is just enough time to getting a small walk. Maybe even if you have a newborn, or you can take them for walks. It is no reason to really push your body aside and to constantly be going, and letting the stress build up without a way to really de-stress. And I find fitness has allowed that for many people. And over a period of time, they've come to love it.
I hope that mindset reflected in your grades at the end of your week?
It did.
Okay,
It
just double check. I had to.
People don't
Wow.
understand like that little 20, 15 minutes, half an hour a day of just working out, exercising and stuff is do so much, not only for your body but for your mental health too as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Roderick, we coming back to you. All right. So we trying to figure out was the ways that you can find solutions now for these issues. So what would you recommend to people in terms of building a routine that would help them to, be more in tune with what their body is telling them they need, or they should be avoiding, cut out some of them chips or whatever else it is?
Okay, so yeah, that's a great question, and different people are at different places when it comes to the way that they approach a routine. Some people may be apt to do multiple changes, and some people may be apt to just make one small change. The easier one obviously is to make one small change, build a habit out of that, and then build on that. And so the individual needs to look at their day-to-day or what they believe that they can do, because their self-belief plays an important role in being able to build the habit. Because if you don't think you can do it, you've already lost, right? So look at something that you can do, and the important thing is to focus on that thing, because we can go through the day and all types of things come and crowd that out. Focus on that one thing. It may be going to sleep at a certain time so you get enough sleep. Just focus on that. Like, this is the one thing I need to do today, and if I win this on this day, I can make progress. And then when you start to realize that you can do it over and over again, you add one more thing. It may be just taking stock of what you've eaten for the day, because a lot of people go through the day and they don't have they just eat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if you start to take stock or maybe journal it, use a nap or something of that nature, so the concept is take one thing, become competent at that, then go on to another thing that you believe you can be competent at. But I want to underscore something that Lana said, and she mentioned fear. Even if you have the information and you have the structure, but you still function from that place of fear when it comes to daily life and paying bills and deadlines, you will always default to your default, which is just running after the thing that needs to be taken care of. That is the deadline or whatever. So you need to come out of that place of fear and start to understand that the thing that you're doing builds the foundation of optimum life. And functioning from fear takes you in another direction. And it is easier said than done, but it's something that really needs to be looked at, because 80% of the people that suffer from non-communicable diseases, they know what they're supposed to do. And they believe, I'm going to eventually. But they still function from a place of fear, which then never allows them to do what they're actually supposed to do on a consistent basis, because they're scared of something else.
Okay.
And so...
All right.
That's real. That's real.
Sorry, you had something?
No, I was just saying that's real, for sure.
Lana, question over to you then. What would you rank as some of the little whispers that our body sends to us that we should pay attention to that people don't? And what are some of the routines medically that we should look into making a part of our day-to-day, or at least a regular part of our life habits?
Okay, excellent question. So the things that people think of is the chest pain and the really bad belly pain and that severe headache and the acute sharp pain that happens, that would have happened to Jurad when he shifted. That takes you to the doctor. Those are rare. Those are less common than the little the subtle tingle in the fingers, which is telling you that you've hurt your neck, or you have arthritis because you've been staying your positioning at work. If you sit all day, has not been great. You're not exercising, so your muscles don't get a chance. You're ignoring the position where you are, so your shoulders are in tense tightness all day, and that goes on for weeks and weeks and weeks. But you only come to the doctor when you're not feeling your fingers anymore. So taking the time out so those are some of the things that people ignore. Just a little tingle, maybe an upset stomach. Everything is not gas, but everything is gas, especially in Barbados, and
for sure,
as long as you drink something that allowed you to belch, you're fine.
The ear gone.
The air is gone. So pains in joints, it's not gas. If you move your joint and you belch, that is not gas. Something's wrong with your joint. So if you have a slight, maybe a neck pain, don't always assume it's, I slept badly. Monitor it, right? Make a note. Maybe you don't have to do it every single day, but just make a note at the end of the day. Is there this is the reflection. This is the time we take to pause. 5 minutes. Is there anything that that I'm feeling that I just don't feel right? Because sometimes the body's words aren't clear. It's not like, okay, you have a heart attack, here's the pain, this is what you have to do. No, it's just, I just don't feel good, or my head just feels foggy, or I just don't know what this is on my neck, or on my chest, on my hip, on my toe. But listen to your body, write it down, as Roger was saying, journal. Just write it down. It doesn't have to be a big essay for everybody. It's just your little note to self. What happened today? And at the end of the week, if you still have similar things happening, then the suggestion would be to seek advice. May not necessarily be a medical doctor. It could be a friend who's trained in nutrition. You can ask them, well, do you think it could be this I had? And you write down the snacks that you did. So those little things are things that we listen to, right? Anything that would have upset us in a day that might be contributing. Did we resolve anything, or do we have things that are unresolved that are small now but could be much bigger, and we've just been putting aside that conversation? It's time to say, let's have this conversation, even if it ends up badly. So don't fear the end of the conversation. Don't fear what you write down. Don't be afraid of what you've written. You're writing what your body's trying to tell you.
I think what people has become afraid of, and I'm not saying it's me, but I think what people is afraid of is when they put the thing in Google, and then Google bring back the response, and you got like 6
You're going to die. You're going to die. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I think that sometimes withdraw people, but my other question to you was...
And just say habits. Just daily habits that I mentioned earlier. Those daily habits. And I tell patients, I said, look, I just did this 3-minute Pilates this morning. You can do 3 minutes.
Right.
And I just came from doing 3 minutes because I didn't have much time. If I had much more time, I would have done the 5 minutes.
Right.
But I only had 3 minutes this morning.
And it helps to de-stress.
Yeah. And they're like,
relax.
I can just do 3 minutes. Yeah, you can just do 3 minutes. You can stand and stretch at work. You can stand and stretch. Your children aren't going to starve if they have to wait 5 minutes.
No.
Right.
They won't. It hasn't happened before. They're not going to starve.
Okay.
So you again, guilt, fear, shame, those are the things we need to be aware of in ourselves, and where that burn, I call it, like the burn as in the middle of your stomach, the pit of your stomach, that's another sign that something is wrong. It's either emotionally wrong, it's physically wrong. That sensation that something is just not right. And listen to your friends or ask for help. Talk to find one person that you trust that you can talk to, because we all think, so many have some good friends who many of them think, I got over this big one, but they don't seek help. So they then fall back into the default when something happens that is a trigger. And then have to start from scratch all over again. It's exhausting and it's discouraging to feel like you have to start from scratch all over again.
Yes.
So we seek help, do little habits, listen to ourselves, make little notes, and form a community within our own bodies so that we know ourselves better, and then form communities outside of ourselves within our family or our general communities, people of like mind who would be encouraging us and not discouraging us to do the thing that we were really brought here to do.
One more medical question. How often should you get like blood work done?
Or like a whole checkup.
Yeah. I just know, because I find a lot of people say, I went to the doctor to get a checkup, but a lot of people also say, unless you get blood work done, it can't really tell you nothing. The doctor can't tell you anything. You have to come and jerk your belly or whatever. So I wanted to know how important in the big scheme of things is things like getting professional blood work done and that kind of stuff.
So that's actually being touted now recently, and I'm so relieved, because as Roderick and I were saying, people mainly think you go to the doctor when you are sick.
Right.
That's the only time. Like what's my other worth?
What's the reason?
Only No, you go to the doctor when you are well, so that we can find if there's something that's starting to happen. So that's the concept of the annual wellness check.
Okay.
AWC. And that's becoming a new mnemonic So we're thinking annual wellness check from as early as 25, especially if you have a family history, let's say of hypertension or a stroke or cancer. These things are happening earlier. COVID really switched the game, flipped a switch on illness, and so things are happening earlier. So start having the habit. You will fear the doctor less, hopefully. The white coat thing should go down a little bit. Annual wellness check. And then as far as blood is concerned, the doctor usually determines what is most appropriate.
Right.
So it's not just, I'm just going to send you for everything.
Right.
No, it's what's most appropriate. If it's a female, might there be anemia? If it's someone who has hypertension, check the kidneys, check the liver. So I can see you on the outside. I can't see what's inside of you,
Correct.
as I tell patients all the time. So we might have to do ultrasound, X-ray, blood tests. Those, again, that depends. But generally, again, it's every 2 years for some people, every year for some, and for older persons, again, it is determined by their level of health. So some people might need a blood test every 6 months for one or two things, but generally annually is good enough.
Okay.
Before you get her, Jurad, though, why did it come up after COVID? Why did COVID bring it up?
Because for some unknown for reasons we still don't know, that are still being discovered, COVID's actions on the receptor that has been discovered as ACE receptor. Everybody might be familiar with that term. Receptors that are in all cells, and it has affected those cells in ways that are undetermined, but they have triggered an inflammatory reaction for some. So many people have come up with multiple sclerosis, autoimmune diseases, thyroid disease, hypertension, cancers. So it flipped a switch on the cells, which may or may not, depending on the person's level of health, may or may not have turned. But because, again, we weren't listening to our bodies, or we would have had habits that were less than helpful, then when the switch was flipped, and we still weren't listening, it has become a problem. So I'm not saying that COVID caused the issue.
Correct.
But we're saying that because we know that this is a global issue, it behooves us all to really pay closer attention, because we don't know what is happening presently in our bodies. So present moment, intention, making notes, looking at things, asking more questions in your family, checking in your own family. Those are things that we can do on a not daily, but just on a general basis. Have a family meeting. Let's say, okay, what we're going to do with our health this time for this year. What's our goals? And so you set your goals, you set your intentions, and you look to them. And also, if you don't meet every single target, don't feel too discouraged, because no one ever has to really start from scratch. We've always learned something from an error. We've always learned something from something that happened.
Even if it's a small thing.
And so we can start from where we are and change the ending. As there's a quote that I can't remember who says it now, but you can't go back and change what happened, but you can start from where you are and change the ending. Yeah. So that's what we want to look for, and listen to the science.
I want to reiterate something you just mentioned in terms of setting goals. There are people who will sit down in boardrooms for days and plan for organizations, not just for 1 year. You can even have people doing it for 5 years, all right? And when it comes to doing some of the things that Lana just mentioned in terms of setting goals for themselves, when it comes to their health and wellness, they don't have enough time to do that. She even pushed it to the point of sitting down with your family and doing that. That's somewhat unheard of for some individuals, but they would go into a boardroom and do it for days company. For an organization. And the reality of the situation is that if their health goes down, the organization is going to just get some, it's almost like the disposable, right? And so,
it can continue.
And so it's incumbent on them to take care of themselves, right? And not end up being that person that is disposed because they haven't, right? And so I just wanted to underscore that, because people have a different frame of mind of thinking when it comes to just going after targets and goals, and they don't do it for themselves, but they do it for business, right?
Right. So why is it kind of, we can wrap soon, but I want to pose one more question again to the muscle guys. How y'all find the balance? Because there's you want to be healthy, you want to be fit, but there's some people, not saying me, who might get overdo it, right? And how do you recommend a person not to go from not exercising at all to wanting to run to St. Lucie and come back, and then how do you encourage? Also, like even in terms of taking vitamins and stuff, and I've heard stories, not saying it's me, of people taking too much multivitamins to the point where it actually can create adverse effects. Like how do you balance those things?
Not saying you.
Not saying it's me.
Okay. So that's a good question as it pertains to how far you go. And the reality is it's going to be different for different people, all right? And it actually takes time for you to learn your body, your capacity, and be able to, move forward on like even footing. And that's why it's important to have a good structure, because a lot of people go there doing their own thing, believing, and you will have to feel it out at some point in time, but having a good structure and functioning in cycles as it pertains to your fitness. Like you may do a 3-month structured stint of strength building. You will start at an assessment of where are you good, where's your cardiovascular fitness level or where your strength level. You may have some imbalances in muscles, and you start to understand where you're at, and you build a structure similar to what we were just talking about in terms of boardroom and a business. You have to do that for yourself, and what you start to realize is that you can make some really good progress in that regard. So when you build that structure, you put certain limits or certain targets on yourself, so you know what heart rate to look for. So it means that if you're going out, and we got a lot of technology that can be able to monitor those things. So if you put yourself out of that range, you know how to pull yourself back. You know how to manage things when it comes to nutrition. You know, okay, how much to eat. You start to lean into the things that are going to help you to build the muscle that you need to build. And so that structure is important. Unfortunately, a lot of people just tend to wing it, right? And that's and it's because they've seen somebody be able to do it themselves, and they believe that will be their situation, or that person may have used a plan from somebody else, and they so happen to get the results that they needed to get. But really and truly, it's a hit or miss. That's the reality. And do you really want to be playing Russian roulette with your health? No, you want a good structure, you want a good system. So lean into getting that help. To give you that guidance, and don't just wing it. As it pertains to the things like the multivitamins and that type of stuff, I believe a good balanced diet is good. Make sure you have everything in there, whether it be fruits, vegetables, and those type of things. And it's important to then get that checkup that you're supposed to have on an annual basis, because that will show you the deficiencies that you may have, and then that directs you as to where you need to supplement in particular, right? And so I think those things will kind of put things in a good place for you to not overdo it. And if you don't get to do that, when you hit the wall and you're in shambles the next day, I need to pull back.
So don't rock right here to say Lucy. Okay. All right, good.
Right. So I agree with what Roger said, and into that I would say start training with someone to really gain a basis of your strengths from the beginning, to build that foundation, so you get understanding how to do movements as well, and how strong you are at that point. So in the same timeline, 6 months, 3 to 6 months, you can come back and check. All right, well, I started maybe with 10 pounds. Now I'm moving 30 pounds, and now you make a note of that from the beginning, leading on to that point, so that your body may need a rest when you reach that 30 pounds, but you haven't given it the rest that it needs, and you may take a deload week, taking that 1 week where you're doing like less 30-40% less weight than you were doing the week before, prior to just give your body a reset before going at it again. And then you may even see increases again. You go by that next week, you're doing 40 pounds, and you're like, I was doing 30 pounds 2 weeks ago, now I'm at 40 pounds. A drastic jump, but it's that your body, you finally gave your body the rest it needed. As it relates to supplements, I would do the same thing. I would prefer to have a well-balanced meal, 3 to 4 meals, and to make sure I get all of my nutrients from those meals before thinking about going on to utilizing multivitamins and those supplements. And within that year, to check and see where your baseline is, because from those notes, you may have started, let's say you started at 120 pounds, and now you're starting to eat more, balanced meals, and the next year you may be 140 pounds, but in the checkup they might find something that you didn't know you were dealing with before, and which is, I'm going to lay back onto what Lana was saying, in that genetics, that you are also, your family may have diabetes. may have cancer, it may have all these other things in it, and in you starting to make notes of these things, you can see the change in your body. And you writing down or making note of these things, you can also talk to your doctor about these things, because you may have started training, but your body's also changing as you've started training.
Correct.
And these are things that you can catch in the earliest stages. Even just knowing the history of your family, that training may play a huge role in you preventing those things from happening. So I agree with
Yes.
Excellent.
And also, I think we need to not be so hard on ourselves too. I
Yes.
think that's be so unrealistic as well.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I can just like what the two muscle guys have said before. I agree. And one of our lecturers had said when we was doing the second degrees, the best vitamin is F, which is food.
Food. Correct.
Vitamin F, and then anything that is missing, we can add. I still firmly believe in pickling yourself. I mean, in terms of like if you need something, take it.
Right.
There is something. There's a place for that. But and also knowing your family history. You know how many people don't know what their mom or dad have, and these aren't people whose moms or dads were 100 and something years old that died 50, 60 years ago. This is present day, and their parents might still be alive, but they don't know because nobody wants to share. So again, the shame. Why are you ashamed to have high blood pressure or ashamed to be diabetic? You didn't cause it. We didn't cause a medical condition. So the sharing in families is easier said than done,
But it's essential.
but it's essential. So if you're going to come to the doctors, let them know, because you do get a kind of a pass when you say I'm going to the doctor. So people are like, what happened? What happened? What's wrong? So well, she wants to know if anybody had anything in the family like cancer or anything like that, just to write down any notes. I find that that helps a lot of people to get past, as opposed to just coming up to mom or dad and saying, you have anything that I need to tell your doctor? Because
Smart way.
you will not get that answer that you need.
Right.
So
Yeah.
there are ways that you can get around it, but I think that just how we're talking, just having a conversation, just having a conversation, make it normal. Because here's what, all the nice things that we just spoke about, the habits and everything, a catastrophe happens,
All that skin up.
Yep.
everything. Everybody's going quite along, planning for 2020, and what happened?
Skin up.
We haven't even we didn't recover yet.
Nope.
So that's where we don't go too hard on ourselves. We become each other's aid. We don't become each other's discourager. We're so easy to discourage someone or ask them why they're doing that. Or what are you doing this for? Or that's not gonna or that might not work, or that gonna take so long. Those are discouraging statements. So when we put into persons, we get back. When we put into ourselves and replenish ourselves, the two main things I love to, a friend has told me, and I love to do, reset, something's wrong, and recalibrate when something you did not expect happens, because you might have to just circle around the illness. You can't get away from the fact that you're out because your back gave out. So you have to lie down, make another plan. So you have to recalibrate, and that's okay. Don't beat yourself up for it, and certainly don't accept the guilt and the shame that others have in their bodies that they might want to just project on you so that they can shift it off, not purposely, but it's because we don't all, there's only so much a human being can take. And from that perspective, we're all humans in here. We each have a limit. And so no is a complete sentence. If I say no, I don't have to explain my no. And that's something I had to learn, because as women, we're supposed to say yes. We're supposed to be the ones who heal. We're supposed to be the ones who take care of everybody else. And no seems to be something that, how dare you? How could you? I just recently said I'm going on vacation next week. After 10 years, I haven't taken a vacation. What? I know. Don't. I just. I needed this conversation.
You're not listening to the West
Yeah. So they be got low load. So I'm like, okay, I'm taking vacation 10 years. So I've said to persons, I'm going on holiday from this to X time. For how long? What gonna happen? After 10 years, I don't get to take a week and a half. After 10 years, Did you hear what you just asked me? When was your last vacation?
Appalling.
When you're at work, you don't plan your vacation from the beginning of the year. Okay, so I've just said I have to take a break and stop so I can come back fresh. You are not going to die in the time that, and if you were, then I'm not the person that you would have needed any call. I couldn't be doing any better.
Correct.
You would need more than me. So again, don't accept the guilt or the fear from somebody else to be your determining factor in what you do. And there are people who will project themselves onto you, and especially for females, we take it on, absorb it, especially if you're an empath. You take it, you absorb it, it becomes yours. That's where the boundaries come, and that's where no becomes a complete sentence.
No.
I like that.
And that's
No
all we need.
full stop.
No full stop.
All right. So we are gonna wrap up. Any final thoughts across the table? Y'all can draw straws. Who wants to go first? This is your final thoughts on anything you would like, people
About not
to know.
ignore those whispers.
Breathe, listen, and talk.
Full stop.
Facts.
I would say start with rest and resetting. There's a pyramid that, and I like to use that analogy of a pyramid at the foundation when it comes to taking care of yourself and listening to your body and getting the whispers right. You need to have the foundations in place. If not, you can't hear anything. You can't understand the signals. So have the foundational things in place, whether it be rest, whether it be just setting up time for you to recover, even if you're going extreme on your workouts and that type of stuff. All the progress is made in the rest, and a lot of people don't take that into consideration. So start with the simple things and build the foundation, and you would realize that as you build that foundation, it's easier to listen to your body and easier to hear your body, and you realize that it doesn't whisper or it doesn't shout as much because you've done the simple things to set the foundation that keeps you on a good trajectory.
Okay. Thank you guys so much for being here. Jurad doesn't have much more to say. Jurad is on this full stop. Like,
I agree with you just said.
yeah. Okay, that's been our conversation today. Thanks for listening to Just a Conversation. If this episode made you think, smile, or even pause for a second, don't forget to follow the show on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you're tuning in. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Just search JS Barbados. Every follow, share, or message brings more voices to the table. So until next time, keep the conversation going.